Let's now welcome in Julien Laurens to talk more about what we saw in this game. Hello, Jules. Great to have you with us. Chelsea coming from behind there to get a big win and pile the misery on West Ham in this early stages of the season.
Yeah, and without Cole Palmer as well, who was supposed to start and then got injured during the warm-up. That's why Estevao started and had a really good first start for Chelsea in the Premier League this season. I mean, we won't repeat what we said last season about Graham Potter and how overrated he is and not good he is, not good enough as a manager in the Premier League. We've said that enough last season when he had not a very good time after taking over Julien Lopetegui, but the start of the season is horrendous for West Ham. The defeat at Sunderland was bad enough last weekend. This is probably even worse because yes, they took the league without Paqueta's solo goal, but after that they were just non-existent, completely overplayed by a Chelsea team that is still not ready physically. And you could see Estevao was bright and sharp because he had a proper pre-season during the Club World Cup and before that and in between, whereas the others are still getting to grips with their fitness. So it's just another bad night for Graham Potter and West Ham, and a very good one for Chelsea after the draw that we saw against Palace last weekend.
Yeah, and a very good one for Chelsea as well, Frank, given the fact that, as Jules mentioned, Cole Palmer did pull up injured in the warm-up.
Yes, and it was for us an opportunity to see João Pedro taking the positioning of Cole Palmer, and that was quite effective. So we talked about it last week, and we can see that there is a possibility that Cole Palmer can rest at some time. I don't know how long he's going to be injured, and João Pedro can take over, so that was a good thing. Yes, the players are not physically at 100%, not ready yet, but West Ham did exactly what they had to do to make sure that Chelsea wins. They opened the doors, and at front, the front line is so fast, so technically good that it's impossible to cope with them. So we saw last week that with a team who knows how to defend, like Crystal Palace, it's very hard for Chelsea to find spaces and to give pace into the game. Today, except the first 10 minutes, that was easy peasy for everybody, and there was a one-way traffic. So well done to the players. They reacted well. They scored many goals. Full of confidence, perfect for Chelsea.
They were certainly helped along by West Ham's defence today. However, Enzo Maresca has talked about being more efficient in front of goals, and after no goals against Crystal Palace last time out, 5 today has got to make him happy. Yeah,
again, you can only play what's put in front of you, and so from that point of view, you're creating chances, both in open play and from set pieces. You're taking them, and you could maybe have done better with 2 or 3 other ones. And as Frank said, they're not 100% fit. So if you're a Chelsea fan or Maresca, you're absolutely delighted with this performance. I mean, coming into it without Cole Palmer as well. Again, if you're Maresca, you're thinking, oh no, I'm going to have to play the kid. But again, as Joe said, the kid was fantastic for the first half.
Estevao coming in and making that difference, making an impact, another great sign.
Yeah, and I think what you can appreciate from Estevao right away, that even though he may be slight in terms of his size, in terms of the lack of physicality, if you will, he has no fear. He takes on defenders, gets a hold of the ball, and I'm facing up, I'm getting after somebody, I'm going to dribble somebody, I'm going to take on a defender, I'm going to be a difference maker. If you had any doubts as to what is it that you can do in this league, you would take a touch back and then kind of find support from the trailing player and then kind of make yourself available, 1 and 2 touches, and we move on with our lives. Estevao, anytime he grabs the ball, he's saying, I'm going after this guy. I'm not even thinking about playing backwards. I'm already positioned my body to get after defenders. Now, it helps to get after the West Ham defenders. That also helps quite a bit because they can't move. They cannot move. Even playing with 3 center defenders, they stay so tight because they don't want to go out into wide areas. And the reason they don't want to go out into wide areas is because on the turn, it's difficult for them to get on the move and get on the turn. Estevao took full advantage of that. Chelsea took full advantage of that. It was impressive from Chelsea's perspective in the attack, and it was impressive from Estevao's perspective as well. Yeah,
elsewhere in the Premier League, we must talk about Nottingham Forest, where there seems to be a strange situation unfolding. Obviously, you'll remember what they did last season. We saw a big win from them on the opening day. They are in the Europa League group stages, But the future of Nuno Espirito Santo is very much in doubt after he spoke publicly about his role and his relationship with Nottingham Forest owner Evangelos Marinakis. Jules, what the heck has happened here?
I mean, once I'm quite surprised that Nuno, who's a really experienced manager, just comes out publicly like that and in a way throws under the bus a little bit his boss and the club's owner. And I think we often say on the show, it's good to be honest and transparent. We all for that. Sometimes it's probably a better thing if you keep, especially these kind of issues, behind closed doors, and you sort them out with your own owner instead of making them publicly to the whole world like Nuno did, because I think the door was already open for Nuno to be in trouble in case the results are not there for Forest, and there were tensions already through the whole summer with the recruitment, with the pre-season results. I mean, before the win against Brentford last weekend, Forest had 7 games in pre-season, 5 0-0 draws and 2 defeats. That's why Marinakis was not happy going into the season, because for what he saw in pre-season before the start of the Premier League, things were not good at all. And on the other hand, Nuno was not happy because there was not enough reinforcement for his squad and not new signings enough for him. The club was waiting to see if they were in the Europa League or Conference League, which came quite late in July, but still, so already there was a lot of tension between them two on where the squad was at that time, just before the start of the season. And he started well against Brentford, but those tensions are still very much there. And I think Marinakis also knows that the team overperformed last season. I think we all agree on that, and that it would be difficult to do the same. But I also think that Nuno deserves credit for what happened, and that credit buys him a bit of time, right? Although now I really believe that 2 or 3 defeats in a row and he'd be gone.
So yeah, is he really going to be sacked, especially after saying things like that? Is that what's being expected in England after this whole situation?
Yeah, I think Marinakis was not so happy with the start of the season. I know they won against Brentford last weekend, but it's the first game of the season. Marinakis was not happy at all. I was told this afternoon about the press conference. Not happy at all that Nuno came out in the way he did and spoke the way he did. The little clip that we just heard, but there was a little bit more as well in that press conference. And in a way, we all know what kind of guy Marinakis is. You just don't really mess up with him. I think there are some sort of owners where you can always make up and move on and things like that. Marinakis is not really that kind of owner. So I fear a little bit for what could happen for Nuno if Forest don't win 2 or 3 games in a row.
I mean, it just smells big time. And absolutely, I would not be shocked if Nuno doesn't get the tin tack very shortly. Because Nuno ain't coming out with that unless he knows it's coming.
I think we all, here in this panel, Jules as well as Frank, we all have as good a chance of coaching Nottingham Forest as Nuno does from here on out. He has... When you come out and say what you say, in the best of circumstances, with the best of owners, it's explosive. But in this circumstance, it's essentially saying, fire me, baby, and pay me out. That's exactly what's happening here. Yeah, you want to fire me? Go ahead. You're going to have to pay me out. That's the way it's going to work. I don't think Nuno wants any part of this going forward either. I don't think he wants to work with this guy, but he doesn't want to walk out because he wants to be paid out. That is the dynamic of what's happening here. And like I said before, we all have as good a chance of being the manager for Nottingham Forest as Nuno does from here on out.
Fancy that role, Frank? You get the final say on this.
I'm not sure. I have so many things to do in my life, but I agree with the guys. I think Nuno already called the movers and he's ready to leave anytime soon. When you make that kind of comment, it's like an invitation of being sacked, and it's what he wants. He doesn't want to carry on what we saw at the end of the season and the comment that the owner made during the preseason. I think Nuno is fed up. He wants to go. He wants to find another experience, and it's always hard, when you have an owner, a chairman really into the game, going into the dressing room. I've seen that with Marseille, with Bernard Tapie. Coaches are fed up with that. They feel that they don't handle anything, and they'd rather go away and leave that to others. And I think it's what Nuno wants already.
Yeah, we must say before we say goodbye to Jules, Very nice new room behind him there.
Is that?
Nice red halls.
Is
that a light coming through? Skylight.
Professional. I mean, it's not as professional as some of the other things we have seen from Jules, but
It looks like his head's holding up the ceiling.
Yeah.